Hello there. Welcome to this bonus episode of Find Your Food Voice. I am Julie Duffy Dillon, your host, and I am here today with Coleen Bremner. Hey, Colleen.
Hey, we have an impromptu diet culture IRL. It's like the deleted scenes hot takes.
It may be a little messy just like that because we're totally like off the cuff. Full transparency. Colleen and I were meeting earlier today, and she was like, so since you're not on Instagram, I think you would want to know about something that's going on. And if you don't know why I'm not on Instagram, it's because someone hacked into my account. I don't have it anymore, and I'm on TikTok now. I don't know, with all the other 15-year-olds, I guess. I don't know. But I'm Food Voice RD on TikTok. But yeah, so Colleen, you let me know that something was going on with Taylor Swift. And I knew about the album dropping because I do have a 14-year-old at home. And she begged me to stay up till midnight to hear the album. And I know you're kind of a Swiftie fan, aren't you?
Yes, I'm like a late in life converted Swiftie. I haven't always been a Swiftie, but yeah, later in life, definitely I'm like, wait, she's actually really talented. And so recently converted Swiftie.
Yes. Well, and it makes sense though too, because you are like a musical person.
Yes.
Listeners may not know that you are a very talented singer. So I've heard many people say, yeah, like she is actually really talented and blah, blah, blah. Yes. But we're not talking about Taylor Swift for that reason. We're talking about her music video, Anti-Hero. Is that the name of it?
Yes, that is the name.
So tell me, let's go, like, in case people have no idea what we're talking about. What's going on?
Yes.
Give us a lay of the land.
So glad you asked. Yes. So like all Swifties, I was eagerly awaiting the drop of Midnights and also this music video because it's been highly anticipated. Mm-hmm. And so Friday morning it dropped and I started watching it. And of course, it's like beautiful. It starts out really strong. She has her knife cutting into a sunny side up egg to reveal this like gooey purple glitter yolk. And I'm hyped at this point. I'm like, yes, I'm waiting for the rest of the story to unfold. And then 2 minutes in, it happens. And I yell, no, not this Taylor. No, this isn't the way. And it is this image of Taylor on a scale with the word fat popping up into the scale's little window. And her alter ego shakes her head no, like it's the most shameful thing. And I'm just super disappointed. I think to myself, like, no, Taylor, this is not the way. Come on, girlfriend.
So you thought she was more aware of these kind of topics?
Oh, definitely.
And by these kind, I guess we should define what that means.
Yes. Like being sensitive to like discrimination on many different levels. Yeah. And Taylor really, I think, does her videos in a way that is very intentional. I don't know if you've listened to any of her other albums, but her lyrics are also very intentional. She does everything with intention. So seeing this, I was like, oh man.
Yeah. Isn't she known for like putting hidden like clues and things? Mm-hmm. So that's why, like, when you're saying intentional, like everything is combed through and very precise for a reason. Okay.
Yep. She's got hidden Easter eggs and secret slams against other celebrities who have wronged her. Like she's there to dish and tell all. So yeah, when I saw this scene, I was super bummed out.
Well, and so I think about someone listening and being like, well, what's the big deal? I mean, I hope you know that I think it's a big deal. But like, where should we start? Like, why is this such a big deal?
Yeah. So this is a big deal because for a few reasons, I think. One is it portrays this sense that fat is bad again, which we see time and time again as being a word or descriptor that has negative connotations. Mm-hmm. And I think another too is that it feels kind of socially acceptable to discriminate against fat people in a way that it isn't for other forms of discrimination, if that makes any sense. So even though it's not socially acceptable, I want to be clear there. Yeah. It feels like it's more socially acceptable than some other forms of discrimination. And I think that that's kind of the big deal, is seeing something that also, okay, third, one more thing is having someone who is not a fat person, who is a thin person, step on a scale and have it say fat. It's like, honestly, Taylor, honey, you've never lived in a fat body. So this is not your experience anyway, which I shouldn't like discredit or like take value away from her experience. She has been very open about like living with an eating disorder, and that's very valid, but this isn't about that. This is about systemic oppression and fat phobia.
Right. Yeah, when I watched the video, which I just did this morning after you told me about it, it's like, I gotta watch this now. And I had a little bit of insight, of course, because you talked to me about it. But the first thing that crossed my mind with it was, fuck, this is something that's going to further prevent access for folks with eating disorders who are in higher weight bodies.
Yeah.
And there's already so much struggle for people. Like, the majority of eating disorders that I have worked with, eating disorders, that makes it sound like a person itself. The majority of people I've worked with who are living with an eating disorder have had anorexia or in some way restricting.
Yep.
And if you somehow HIPAA didn't exist and you can line every person up, you would see every shape person. But the majority of people were in higher weight bodies. And I say that because I know some people are going to be surprised, that someone can have anorexia and be in a higher weight body. No, it actually is the most common way to have anorexia. And so having this on a screen, and, I'm thinking again about my 14-year-old watching this, it's just centering again more thin and white women, cisgender women, experiencing this, and how that's like all we really need to pay attention to. And then also, I think the other thing I thought about was like, I know people are going to be like, oh, Taylor, you're not fat. Like, I just picturing that as part of the conversation.
That gives me like a cringe.
Yeah. I'm sorry for the cringe, but that's what I was totally picturing as the next statement. People going on to the YouTube channel where I was watching it. I didn't look through the comments, but I'm sure there's people on there who are like, but you're not, in a way to make her feel better, not in a way to be like challenging her use of the word fat as a disparaging.
Which happens to fat people all the time as well. When we identify as fat and we say, I am proudly a fat woman. I myself, Coleen, am proudly a fat woman. I have a shirt that says I'm fat, let's party. Like, I'm very openly into describing myself as a fat person because I don't view it as a derogatory term. I view it as a descriptor. Right. And I think that that's also challenging for like fat folks to hear, because we've heard that our whole lives. Like, oh, you're not fat, you're beautiful. Yeah. Okay. What is that telling me? Oh, you're not fat. Like, you have such a great face. I'm sorry.
Fuck
what?
You?
Yeah. So it's like, I didn't read through the comments either because I was already at that point in the video. I was already triggered. So I was like,
yeah. Well, and that's a great way to describe it too. Like you said, you were triggered. I would assume that many people, now that they're starting to watch it, or now that it's being released, are going to experience that kind of hurt and harm. And again, I as a clinician, I'm just like, crap, like this is going to make access to care so much harder, because it's just further emphasizing that only thin people experience this kind of struggle. And I don't, for a listener, if you've been to treatment, like a higher level of care for your eating disorder, I have a feeling this is something that you heard, but like a lot of people that I work with would talk to me about going to get treatment. And they mentioned people in the room who were smaller than them talking about how they were so scared of gaining weight. Like they were like literally fearing to look like that person in the room, and how other people in the group, other clinicians in the group didn't swoop in and say, hey, this is your anti-fat bias coming out. Yeah. And this is harming group members. This is a rule. We're not, you can't do that. And it's not to say that, like you said, like Taylor doesn't have a struggle. Like we all live in diet culture and within that the system of oppression, and she is not experiencing the discrimination because of it,
and it's causing harm.
And it's causing harm. Yeah.
She has 27 million people have viewed this video.
Shit.
Just in 3 days, Julie.
Wow.
So if you consider that over time, in the next 3 days, let's assume there will be another 27 million. I mean, those numbers add up, and she is an influential person. And I think that for me, also reading comments, things on Instagram, things like that. It's like, I just hope that people are listening to fat people when
Mm-hmm.
we speak out about this and we
Mm-hmm.
say this is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are in a thin body or you don't identify as a fat person, please just listen and
Mm-hmm.
advocate for us. Like,
Yeah.
don't don't do anything else but like listen and advocate for us and give us a platform to share if you can.
Yeah. Yeah. If only Taylor had done that. Are there any folks on either Instagram or just on the web anywhere that you have found that you're like, ooh, I really appreciate this commentary? Is anybody
Oh
that
my
you
gosh.
found?
Yes. So there is someone called Fat Fab Feminist, and
Mm-hmm.
she kind of was the first commentary that I heard. And she said, as an actual fat person, genuinely, how are we supposed to feel seeing this? Watching a thin person remind the whole world that one of their biggest fears is being fat,
Mm-hmm.
looking like me, demonizing the word fat while never having the experience of living in a fat body. It's fat phobic, period. Using the word fat in such a derogatory context explicitly sends the message that being fat is a bad thing. It villainizes fatness. I'm disappointed that this is the message Taylor Swift chose to send.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, so my question for us to like sift through, and I'm especially curious what you have to say, Colleen. Like, if Taylor Swift got some feedback, um, what would be the next best step for her?
Yeah, I hope that Taylor just listens and hears what the fat community is saying. And I hope she apologizes for the damage and the hurt she's caused with the scene in her video, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe makes some sort of public statement explaining how this can affect young people, impressionable minds, has affected the fat community. And I'm like not for cancel culture. I think
Mm-hmm.
if there's a way for someone to recognize we're human, like we make
Mm-hmm.
mistakes, if there's a way for her to come forward and like
Mm-hmm.
say, yeah, I made a mistake. Like, I'm really sorry that it's hurt this group of people. And I now see that. Thanks for like letting me know.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think that, yeah, great. Like, Taylor, if you're listening and you hear that, I hope you listen to that.
yeah. Well, and getting criticism doesn't make you a bad person. I don't
No.
mean you, Colleen, but like for anybody who's gotten feedback, I've definitely been called out before and I've gotten feedback, and it's something we need to, although it feels uncomfortable, like we all need to feel grateful for. In a sense, like the fat community is helping Taylor Swift to be a better human, to be
Yeah.
a less harmful person, to help more people in her audience to enjoy her music videos and her
Yeah.
music. Yeah.
And I think when we do get feedback from like most angles, when I receive feedback, I think of it as a privilege. Someone
Yeah. No
cared
kidding.
enough
Yeah.
about me and
Mm-hmm.
about my relationship with them to provide feedback. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I owe it to them to listen and
Yeah.
like hear what they have to say. I might not always agree with the feedback that I receive,
Yeah.
but if I'm doing harm, chances are I'm going to step up and apologize.
Well, right. Right. Exactly. And I know I was reading some responses on TikTok and some comments, and some folks were saying, like, by providing this feedback, it takes away Taylor Swift's experiences, or, she's such a good musician, how we shouldn't criticize someone who's so good. And I hope that, I know, Colleen, your eyes are like about ready to fall out of your head.
I'm like,
But I just name that because part of diet culture and the systems that it's built on, which is racism,
racism.
um, provides the black and white thinking, the dichotomy that it's all or nothing, this or that. And this is one of those times where it's like, Colleen still probably has a place in her heart. I don't know, I can't speak for you. Probably still thinks she's a good musician, and you're super disappointed, or what.
Yeah.
I don't want to name what
Yes.
you're feeling, but
Yeah.
you can
That's it.
feel both of those. Yeah.
I can feel both of those. I just posted too on Instagram about this, and that's exactly what I said.
Okay.
Like, I started off by saying I still think Taylor Swift is incredibly talented,
Mm-hmm.
and I think she's harming a community of people.
Yes.
probably on accident and because of internalized fat phobia that needs to be unlearned.
Yes. Yes. And it's still so surprising that anti-fat bias is not a part of the conversation for when people go through like checklists of like, hey, is this appropriate to release to the public? And maybe this is something we all can learn from. I know I can do better in that regard, but like all of us, like just having a little extra speed bump to be like, wait, let me make sure, especially those of us with extra amounts of privilege to be able to like, is this something that could be harmful to someone? I know there's been musicians in the past who have gone in and changed their music, removed people that collaborated with them that ended up having some concerns, changed music videos. What do you think if Taylor Swift did that? What if she went in, which I'm like, she could probably with editing go in and just change the thing instead of saying fat, saying something like, I don't know, whatever she may be feeling like taking up too much space or feeling out of control. I don't know whatever her feeling may be, but I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I think that touches on too that like fat is not a feeling. So I'm glad that you gave some other options of what one might actually be feeling in those moments.
Yeah.
But I think that would be an excellent next step if
some editing,
an apology, some editing. Yeah. And like, and if you need a little break from Taylor for a minute, like because that hurt you, like that's also okay. Like, I think you have to decide what's best for you in the moment. And like for me, of course, that's always writing it down and talking to Julie and and sharing it widely. But that might not be your next best step.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because I was going to ask that because we had Taylor's next step. But what about for the listener? Yeah. And it sounds like for you, are you going to put her on pause for a little bit, or are you going to keep listening? What have you decided?
Yeah, I am definitely still listening. The album is fire, I think. And had I not watched the video on Friday, I wouldn't even probably know about it unless it were for Instagram. So I do still think like the album is great. And I probably won't watch some of her videos for a little while. I might like guard my heart there. But yeah, I think that and being able to speak here about it, I think it has also been a little therapeutic for me being able to share like why it's been that piece is challenging, watching that. And it's not going to be the last time too, unfortunately.
No,
there will be something else that comes up with a different artist or a celebrity that we then hash out on an impromptu episode of Diet Culture IRL. So.
Right. Exactly. Well, anything else? Because we need to end with our episode that's just like thrown together really fast. No music, no editing, nothing. And we have to carry on. Off the cuff for sure. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to add before we part ways?
Yeah, just, if you're listening to this and this resonates with you or you have questions or want to chat with either of us about what you've heard in this episode, please feel free to reach out to us. Like we are always happy to respond. It's info@juliedillonrd.com.
Yeah, that's right.
And please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to respond. Julie's happy to respond. And yeah, Taylor, if you hear this, like just spend some time doing some learning and unlearning and like still your fan and hope that everything works out and you like see the error of the way.
Yeah, we believe in you, Taylor, that you can grow from this and listen to folks in the fat community. Yeah,
exactly.
Thank you so much for bringing it to my attention. Because again, I feel like I'm like on Pluto or something because I can't be on Instagram anymore. And thank you for sharing your lived experience. It's so important to me, and it makes this so much better for a listener too. So I appreciate you, Coleen. Thank you.
Yes. And if you're a listener and you had a different experience, share that with us too. Yeah. I would love to hear other people's reactions to this video. So
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. And there's not going to be any like music on the way out. We're just going to like stop recording. So thank you for joining us. Follow along over on TikTok at Food Voice RD. I already have a couple videos going about this. So I look forward to chatting with you there. Bye for now.
Bye.